Hello and welcome back to another episode of Love It or Shove It. This is the talk show about love and relationship and how do we develop better relationship with ourselves so we can better show up for our partner and we better choose our partner. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, welcome to this beautiful talk show. My name is Irina Portnova and I'm all about manifestation. How can you manifest and attract the best relationship in your life? And I am here with my co-host Bruno Gill. Bruno, would you like to say a couple of words about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Bruno, everybody. I'm self-love coach, and I help people, mainly women, become more authentic, more expressive, more confident for a more fulfilling life. Pretty much, yes.
Beautiful. And today we have a fun topic, but before we dive in, just for anybody who still hasn't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead, subscribe, like our channel, and also share with somebody who you think might benefit from the content that we are creating. And let's just dive in into this beautiful topic because today we are talking about relationship vision is the key for decision. So let me first define what is vision. We want to have some kind of destination where we are heading because a lot of times we are not sure what exactly we are doing in the relationship and what do we want out of that relationship. So I invite each one of you today to tune in to this episode and learn more what exactly is going to change for you in the relationship when you have the vision. And we start by saying that when we have the vision, when we know exactly what do we want from that relationship, because everybody defines it something different, right? For somebody it's important to have the same goals, to have the same dreams, maybe having kids, right? Whatever it is, it's very important for us to know exactly what is our vision, because the more clear we are what we want to experience in the relationship, the easy it is to connect and attract exactly that partner that we want. And a lot of times, decision feels heavy when we don't know what exactly we are deciding toward. We not confused because we can't decide. We are just unclear because there is no direction. And when there is no direction, everything becomes, is this okay? Am I overreacting? Should I bring this up? For instance, when our partner cancels plans the last minute, if we don't have a clear vision, we think maybe the person is just too busy, or maybe I don't want to make it a big deal. So we stay and we say nothing. But if our vision is, I'm in a relationship where plans are respected, then our decision becomes simple. And instead of just silence, we are just saying, hey, this matters to me. Can we be more intentional with plans? Because the reality is, when we do not know what we are building, every moment might become as a question. Bruno, what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's very important that people are clear in what they want, in the plans that they want for themselves, individually but also collectively. Um, and just really respect that dynamic. So I think in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, there's a dynamic between what you want for yourself and what you want for the both of you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So of course, it's important that you're able to manage both and be able to like co- cooperate, right? The individual aspirations for individually, right? The individual aspirations and the collective aspirations, they need to have a certain dynamic. I think it's good that there's a certain
Mm-hmm.
cooperation there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there is no indecisions. There is nothing left on the table to be spoken, to be said, right?
Mm-hmm.
or that wasn't said, right? And I think it's, yeah, very important that everything is detailed, um, and just, I guess, talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the clearer the goal, the clear the way to get there also has to be, right? And just, if each person does their part to their max or to the best of their ability, um, yeah, it's, I guess, the best way to make things happen. I guess. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, why shared vision actually changes everything? Because when both people are aligned on what they really want in the relationship, how they show up, and what matters to them, there is less friction, there is less guessing, and there is less tension. Because we are not negotiating the relationship every day, we are living it. For instance,
Mm.
when both partners value quality time, plans don't get forced, effort feels natural, and both partners prioritize seeing each other. So there is no one chasing, no one is pulling away. And that's exactly what we want to have in the relationship. For instance, when both people want growth, and when something comes up, like we talk it through, we don't avoid, we lean in instead of shutting down. And that's exactly what it looks like when people are having similar vision. When the vision is shared, we move as a team, not as two people figuring it out separately. And that's exactly the point of why lack of vision creates repeating loops. When there is no clear vision, when we do not know exactly what do we want to create in the partnership, what's important to us, what are our non-negotiable, when we do not have the clarity of that, we might have the same conversation over and over with our partner. Where is it going? Why does this feel inconsistent? What are we doing? Because nothing is anchored without it, right? When we don't have the vision, nothing is anchored. And it could be something that people can talk about, spending more time together, being more consistent, but nothing actually changes because there is no clear agreement on what we are building. So the same situation repeats when person might feel something is off, when we bring up multiple talks on the same subject, when it improves for a moment, but then it goes back. And that's why vision is super, super important. Because without it, the relationship does not move forward. It recycles the same patterns. Bruno, what do you want to say about it?
Yeah. So for example, even when you're making a plan, right? Even when a couple is making a plan, you know, if the plan doesn't work, you're not gonna make the same plan. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
you gotta try different things, right? Um, but I guess that the clearer the vision, right? The more you know how your life wants to look like, the kind of house you want to live in, the kind of places you want to go visit, the kind of things you want to do on your free time, the more you can describe it, right? The clearer the picture can now become in your head, and the more you can also work on the specifics, right? But it's the thing, it's like it's nice to know certain details that can connect dots. So I'll give you an example. You know, for example, like let's say a couple wants to be rich, or a couple wants to have a house in a house on the farms, right? Let's say they want to buy a house in the farms. They gotta know how much a house on the farms would cost. So now they can align their actions towards that money, right? So that's a specific. So example, a house on the farm, let's say you want to buy it for 500,000, whatever. It's an example. Whether it costs it or not doesn't that's not the fucking point. Let's say it costs 500,000, right? And you want to buy that house and you want to live there, right? You have to align your income in what you're working on to match that kind of salary, right? To match, you got to align your salary, both incomes, towards buying that house, right? So working on the specifics in this case when it comes to finances is you want certain things, but you got to know how much they also cost, right? You want to go on certain trips and you want those trips to have a certain weather, and you don't want to be around a lot of people. Well, then you got to know when you can go on a time during the year when there's not a lot of people. You got to know about those times as well, right? And those are specifics, right? Those are certain things. The more you can work on the specifics, the clearer your picture can become, right? And what's truly amazing about like a vision or a plan is that the more things you find out about, like the more things you find out about specifics, the more the specifics appear. There's always certain things that you can fish on, that either come to your head or you end up seeing it and asking questions and stuff. So the clearer the picture, the more specific the picture can be, the better, right? But then again, a vision that you want to have, a plan that you want to make, right? And the other thing is that the clearer the plan becomes, the more obvious your next steps also become, right? Meaning, the more clear your plan becomes, not only the more obvious your next steps become, but there is less room to do other things because the steps that you need to do are so obvious, right? So you don't need to assume, you don't need to generalize, you don't need to live in opinions or live in a hope. There's no hope, there's no opinions, there's no assumptions. The plan is in front of you because you worked on the specifics, right? So yeah,
I just wanted
I hope
to
that makes
add I just wanted to add my perspective because vision is different than the goal, because
yeah,
goal
of
is
course.
more like on like when you said align your finances, it's not about aligning finances, it's about aligning your actions that create the finances in order to meet the vision.
Yeah, that's it.
That's exactly what
That's the
vision is all about, right? So we
that's
are
it.
not defining by conditions, we are defining by vision. What exactly
Yeah,
do we want? And we start generating the ideas that are on that level, right, for us to have that vision.
hundred
So
percent.
why vision must be backed by mutual participation? Because it's not enough just to say we want something real, because both people actually have to show up in a way that supports that. Otherwise, one person is carrying the vision and the other one is just in it. For instance, when both say we want consistency, but one person makes time, follow through, communicate, and another person cancels, delays, stays unclear, now it creates the gap. And the person who puts out the work in starts feeling that, right? Because the vision is not just shared in words, but also in our actions. For instance, when both partners say communication matters, but one person is expressive and another one avoids, also it creates the imbalance, right? And that imbalance might turn into the frustration. That's why relationship does not grow from shared ideas, it grows from shared effort, right? I always say it takes two to tango, and there is no such a thing that one person is doing the work and another person is having the free ride. So why vision and decision create stability in love? Because this is where everything starts to feel different. When we have a clear vision, decisions are starting matching what we are creating. And the relationship becomes more predictable, more grounded, more stable. And it's not about being boring, it's about being secure. For instance, when people have the vision, we are building something intentional, our decisions start matching that vision. We communicate directly, we follow through, we address things early. And now there is less guessing, there is less emotional swings, and more trust. When both people decide we don't leave things unresolved, so after the conflict, people come together, they repair, they reconnect, and that builds the stability. So, stability does not come from time, it actually comes from clear vision and consistent decisions lived out on a daily basis. Rona, would you want to add something to that?
Uh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think consistency is the most important thing. You were talking about, how your plan is to be aligned with your daily actions, and your daily actions need to, yeah, and that all has to do
Mhm,
with consistency, right? So again, it's like
mhm,
on the past episode, I said that on the past live, I said that, people take more their job for granted than their relationship, right? But the relationship can end as well as the job, you know, simple.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and I guess, it's the same thing as consistency, like just be as consistent with your job as you are with your relationship. Because
mhm,
if you're as consistent with your job to attain the goals that you want every single month in your job, if you're the same way in your relationship and you give your best for that, I just, you know, it's very, very hard that there'll be a problem with it. Yeah.
mhm.
Not
I love
impossible,
that.
but it'll be very hard.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And I did you want to say something else?
No, no, not at all. It's fine.
Okay. And I just wanted to wrap up this conversation by saying when we know what we are building together, we stop questioning every moment because that's exactly why we have the vision. Because vision is meant to give us the direction, and decision is what makes that direction real. Again, when we have the vision, we are not focusing on little things that do not work between people and, what another person did wrong, but we more focus on what we are building together and how we do it. And the more intentional we are, the more we see how that is actually keeping the relationship alive and fulfilling. So that's it for today for this episode. If you like it, again, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody who might benefit. Share any thoughts that you might have. Have you ever thought about having the vision in your relationship? And maybe you do have the vision in your relationship. We would love to hear from you. So comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.